The thing is, nobody's going to hold your hand through this process. No one's going to sit down over your back, breathe down your neck, and make you do this. You have to really want it because it is relatively a small field and it's highly competitive and only. Hey folks, Tyler Edlin here. I've been doing my own studio and art school now for about 10 years in the creative and entertainment field. And today I want to really talk about the qualities or the traits of some of the most successful artists I know. So in this context, I'm going to really be talking about the differences between the rich artists and the poor artists. We all know that wealth does not necessarily mean how successful an artist is in general. And of course, there's a lot more things important than income, like happiness, like relationships, to health. But I needed some kind of basis to kind of go off of today. And to top that off, I'm going to be taking you through my process of how I painted some of the concept art for Kena, Bridge of Spirits, that game that came out recently on the PS4 and 5 and is available on PC. It's going to be fun. We're going to go from a sketch all the way to the full color concept. So let's begin. So I reached out to you guys, the community, a few weeks ago to see what some of the responses you guys had to this very kind of question. Common answers, were like things like patience and having discipline and passion, which of course I do agree with. And yeah, I think throughout this video, my little disclaimer will be, yeah, there's a lot of terms that are interchangeable. But the one I want to start with is one that I saw a lot of folks really fail to mention, and that I think is very important for a majority of us, regardless of the type of artist: freelance artists, independent artists, studio artists, convention artists, online sales artists. There's a lot of types of us, right? And of course, the first one is business savviness. I do think good art inherently will market itself. So if your art isn't doing that, you're going to need to work harder in this category, as most of us, kind of have to do. And for most of us to thrive, of course, it does require a lot more than just making nice looking pictures, though that is a huge part of it. There's things, again, like you guys mentioned, time management, having your priorities in line, from going to things like, as well as marketing, networking, how to generate leads. All of these kind of go under that umbrella of business savviness. And I do feel a smart artist, not to be mistaken with just a good artist, knows their own strengths and weaknesses and knows how to create a market for themselves using these. And of course, when you're creating a market for yourself, you have to really know your art, and you're going to have to know, of course, what your audience is. That's having a certain level of awareness. And of course, you can create connections and build that audience. Things like being able to have an audience emotionally resonate with your art. For one, people will find value in that. People find value in your art or your work if it solves problems. Think of what work solves problems. Concept art solves a lot of problems. Production work solves problems in general. Things like color key, set design, layouts. Someone's going to be editing. That's a creative field in itself, I feel. To like logo design, right? That work solves specific problems for specific people. Or the work itself, like in a sense this video, could be educational, right? That people find value in that. How do people find value in your work? You have to understand this, you have to really know this, and the most successful artists do. And then like once you understand this, you can then find ways, of course, right, to make a living for it. A lot of the most successful artists that I do know have, of course, multiple income streams. Whether it's prints, whether it's tutorials, whether it's a product or actual service, whether it's to pins and accessories. There's a lot of ways to do it. And people like, John Park, like Jamai Jurabrev, right? They're creating studios, they're creating, different products or different ways of passive income. A lot of successful people out there know this, that freelance work is consistent. Nothing's ever truly really consistent, and the best ways to thrive is to not lean on only one source for your revenue, for your income. And I think at the end of the day, with this, flexibility is going to trump perfectionism. It's one thing to just really rely on having perfect quality of art, but an artist that in a business and marketable world that is able to adapt, is be able to see certain trends, or have the knowledge of when or when not to avoid certain pitfalls and things, that is going to create a certain amount of success for them. A brief example here with myself that I've been learning the hard way was that, over the last year and a half, when my kids were little babies, they were being born, and then COVID hit, there's just a lot of external life factors that were really making me, not have a free peace of mind to just straight up hourly commitments that I can put toward work. So I turned down like 90% of freelance work that came in, over that period of time. But this year I finally am ready to get back, on the horse, and I'm taking a lot more jobs, and now I'm able to get to a place financially where I can start delegating that and hire other artists to do a lot of that work, with under the umbrella of my studio, and so that it's not like work I'm just kind of leaving on the table or pushing away entirely. So it's something I've been learning to adapt toward, a new business model as a studio. Now, the second trait or characteristic that I think is important here is maybe a little more blunt with it, and that's just technical skill. It's hard to get work, it's hard to get paid for doing work if you're not good at it. Right? There's of course a lot of people out there that find little loopholes, or snake oil salesmen, and can find ways to kind of uptalk themselves to get certain things. But I think at the end of the day, a certain caliber of technical skill is going to really be what you're building a lot of the business from. It's going to establish your reputation. It's going to help with networking when someone sees, and that's slightly different than like just having networking and social skills. But I think having really good technical skills, being really good at what you're just doing for the work, is a great kind of lubricant. It's a great way to kind of find lots of other little ways to get into these other categories. And I do feel I'm always an advocate that art is not a talent, and neither is creativity for that matter. And I think talent is earned, and technical skills can absolutely be trained. Most of us that are working professionally have not been doing this, our whole lives, and we all start somewhere. We clearly weren't running a business a lot of us weren't when we were teenagers, or even like right out of school. It took a lot of practice and a lot of failing, which, right, does require something else that you guys mentioned: persistence. I'm just kind of putting this under technical skill. So technical skills itself, I feel, it doesn't always mean, sales or stability for the creative, but you can steer your own technical skill to where it's to a point where you're creating something that's appealing, right? Something that is marketable, and that it's not boring. You can have something extremely technically well done, but it could also be drastically boring. Like imagine having like a painter that can paint the most like detailed figure, or the most detailed blades of grass on a lawn, but and because that requires a high caliber of skill to do, it doesn't make it interesting, and it doesn't mean anybody wants to buy it, right? Remember, you're really going to have to pursue your own personal interests on this to develop these technical skills. Talent is a pursued interest after all, and unlike many other disciplines, with us in a lot of these creative fields, the rewards really take years and years to really see the payoffs, which is going to require a lot of patience. Personally, I started training to be a professional artist, and whatever caliber that was going to be, at about 18. I wasn't getting steady client work till I was about 26. Right? That's like 7, 8 years of real hardcore training in school. And I'd even negotiate, I'd even argue that the work wasn't as steady as I would have liked it to be. So it takes time, right? Technical skill is challenging. So number 3 on my personal list is discipline. I do feel that without a doubt, this is such a huge component of a thriving, successful artist. You can have awesome technical skill. You can market that technical skill really well, or maybe you can market really low. Maybe you're so good at marketing you could sell really average skills, right? Like there's a lot of leeway in all of these. But like discipline really isn't its own kind of game of its own, and by definition is the ability to control one's feelings and overcomes one's weaknesses, right? The ability to pursue what one think is right, and despite temptations to abandon it. We all have distractions. We all get off course with our own kind of plans. It's very easy, to drift in building a career in the future, especially when a lot of our childhood friends and colleagues and family start seeing measurable success way sooner than we do, right? We're in it for the long game. And here I'm also referring to making the right compromises and to staying on track. For some of us that are not inherently independently wealthy, this usually means living frugally for a large period of time while developing skills, to leading less than desired social lives where we become recluses and shut-ins, just honing and perfecting our strategies and our skills and our business senses, and just having patience in general. So with discipline, of course, we can talk about just having, maximizing your time plus your energy and having a focus with that, right? That focus is what steers it. And what I'm really talking about here is structure and organization, right? Because that's what's going to keep you on track. That's what's going to keep you a goal oriented person, developing the right habits over time for, of course, success. And this, can be like things like routines, just having like, hey, every day I'm sketching anatomy at 5. I'm going to learn perspective, at 6 at night, or I might study a particular bit of art history before bed, for the next 4 months. To eliminating distractions, removing clutter in your house, something I had to do recently, to isolating a workspace that you can feel comfortable in, to just saying, hey, I'm not going on YouTube or I'm not renewing my Netflix for the next 5 months so I can really focus. Things like this will add up and will add a lot to your developing skills. The thing is, nobody's going to hold your hand through this process. No one's going to sit down over your back, breathe down your neck, and make you do this. You have to really want it because it is relatively a small field and it's highly competitive, and only a mastery of your own discipline based on your own goals is what's going to do it. Anyone else remember when Dave Raposa, right, that very famous character, artist and illustrator, very successful, was realizing, like, it was like 10 or 12 years ago, that his drawing skills were not up to par, and he went and like got a cabin in the middle of Vermont or something, like in the middle of the woods. I remember him talking about this on an interview, and he just stayed there for 6 months, absolutely distraction free, and grinded out his technical skills. This is what it takes, time and time again. So this last one, number 4 for me. A lot of you listed out one that I would kind of, I guess I think it's pretty similar, pretty much is the same thing, and that's creativity, right? You can't be a creative without having a certain amount of creativity. I'm going to call it, in this case, artistic vision, right? Having your identity as an artist, which is having, right, that vision and intention for which you are creating. Art comes from within, and it's who you are. And in this case, right, your vision is what you are trying to say with your creative works. This can be finely tuned and developed within yourself, I feel, if you are constantly setting your own goals and planning accordingly. A great way I like to do this, of course, is to plan 3 to 4 images in advance. Think about where they're going, why they're going there, and what, of course, I intend to do with them. Maybe this is a hard surface concept for like a bad guy base over here. Maybe this image here is to explore color, light, and shape theory. Maybe this is a personal piece to develop a certain theme, right? They all have very specific purposes. But in general, right, works of art are going to hold together better when there's 3 key factors, right? That's having, kind of unity with a specific theme, and plus maybe, let's say, style, right? For argument's sake, that's the aesthetics. So when, of course, your work has these factors and your work now makes up, let's say, 12 to 30 images, you're going to naturally be kind of creating a bit of a brand for yourself, which you can start running through the business and the marketing channels, and your artistic vision. It's simple for some of us. It might just be really deciding what emotion or theme you're trying to convey with your body of work, or simply, to answer your own question of like, why am I creating something to begin with? That can define that artistic vision for some of you. And this is the beauty of this. This is why we all do this, because it's different, right? It's different for all of us, and that's one of my favorite aspects. So, right, my four big traits of successful artists are being business savvy, knowing how to run and operate a business at any kind of size, right? Whether you're freelancing, knowing how to invoice, knowing how to promote yourself, knowing what to put on a business card, all these things are important. Whether to know how to talk and to recruiters, manage your own, interviews, things like that. It's all business, all important. Social skills in a sense as well. Technical skill, just not having art, that sucks, right? It has to be good to begin with, which of course we can all develop because it's something that is can be trained to discipline, right? Having the willpower to do that training, and of course artistic vision, the creativity, the power from which all of this comes within. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to add into any of this, if you think I'm really off base with them, I'd love to hear that as well. Momentarily, my Instagram has been hacked and deleted, so right now I don't exist on Instagram. It might end up being that way, so keep an eye out for me if I end up making a new account and start putting more work on there. All right, do take care. Guys, thanks for watching. Please hit the subscribe if you want to see more. You can check me out on Facebook, ArtStation, and Instagram. If you want more in-depth content from me, I teach 2 courses at the CG Master Academy, Architecture Design and Fundamentals of Design. If you want even more learning, you can go to brushsauceacademy.com and sign up for one-on-one mentoring. Join the hundreds of students around the world and start improving your art and design today. If you want to be part of a community, we have Brush Sauce on Discord. We have monthly challenges and hangouts. There are links below for everything I mentioned. Thanks again for watching, and take care.